All right, good morning, everyone. We will start our presentation for this period. Welcome to our final seminar session for the topic, the China threat. We started off in week 4, and we had presentations by the 7 representatives representing the 7 groups, and we were unable to continue last week, but this is our rescheduled period, rescheduled session. So we'll start off with our first presenter, Ms. Felipe, who's representing Group 1. So after we listen to Matilda, then we'll move on to Nkobla. So Matilda, please go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Tilda, I think there's an issue with your microphone.
Huh? Let me unmute finish.
Okay, now it's working. You can go ahead.
Me pressing. Me pressing. Can you guys hear me now? Okay, our question reads, what is the statement made by Islam about surplus capital and countries who are signatories of the Belt and Road Initiative? Now, before we answer the question, we have to know what surplus capital is. Now, surplus capital, according to Investopedia, is the surplus resulting after common stock is sold for more than its par value. Capital surplus includes equity or net worth, otherwise not classifiable as capital stock or retained earnings. So basically, surplus capital is the excess remaining after common stock is sold for more than its par value. Now, par value is the amount of money that bond issuers promise to repay bondholders at the maturity date of the bond. A bond is essentially a retained promise that the amount loaned to the issuer will be repaid. As we all know, China is currently the world's leading power in terms of economy. China has undergone massive economic success in the past decade by ensuring that the Chinese economy depends largely on export, which in turn has brought in surplus capital for the country. It is this surplus capital that China wishes to invest in the Belt and Road Initiative. Now, according to Islam 2019, it stated on page 54, and I quote, Chinese wish of diversifying investment venue has been realized and began to materialize under the BRI. China intends to invest surplus capital in Belt and Road countries through building seaport, high-speed railway network, roads, bridges, industrial park, tourism and travel, internet and telecommunication facilities, and other mega infrastructures. Now, China believes that the key to development is through connectivity. China also believes that the Belt and Road Initiative will help to eradicate the level of poverty in each of the signatory countries, as most of these countries are ranked under the third world countries. So many of these BRI countries, according to the reading, do not have the cash, but have natural and human resources. Through BRI, China intends to extract these resources from the Belt and Road countries. Although China does a quick investment or a quick profit out of its BRI investment, the country is using a strategy where Chinese companies will build and develop economic zone, industrial park, real estate, and tourism along the road. Developing these industrial parks and service industries will generate profit to replace the investment China made in the infrastructure project. Now, through the country's investment in the BRI, she intends to still remain the world's leading power, economic power, and also through urbanization and industrialization, China hopes to eradicate the level of poverty in each of the signatory countries. And in order to do so, China has surplus capital to invest to reach its goals. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Matilda. Thank you for sharing with us your answers. And we also thank your group 1. We now move on to Anne Kobler and group 2, who will share the answer to the question, assigned question with us.
Hi everyone. Can you guys hear me? Right. So I'll be presenting on behalf of Group 2, and our question is: what is the China Dream according to Scourgeon? So our discussion is based on the work of Scourgeon 2018, China and the 21st Century Silk Road, a new era of global economic leadership. So before we answer the question, let us understand the background of the China Dream. Firstly, China has never forgotten the humiliation that it has suffered in history, which has left a scar to the nation. The humiliation begins during China's first Opium War and followed by the Japanese invasion. As a result, China encountered loss of territory, loss of control over its internal and external environment, and a loss of international standing and dignity. So when Xi Jinping became the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, he emphasized the phrase, great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, which is the China Dream. So back to answering our question on what the China Dream is, according to Scourgeon. The China Dream, according to Scourgeon 2018, is national renewal or the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation, in which China's ambition and motivation in the 21st century is to be a great power in the international system. Therefore, in order for it to do so, it has restructured its foreign policy to engage with the international community in a way that will maximize Chinese national interests, wealth, and power within the existing system. Now, the Belt and Road Initiative is the manifestation of the China Dream. As we can see, it aims to improve relations between China and more than 70 countries through infrastructure investment and regional cooperation. Therefore, Xi Jinping expressed the China Dream as a measure in which never again would China be victimized by other countries, and China will be a great power in the international system in the 21st century. Thank you, and that is our discussion.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. I will represent the group 3. So our assigned question is, why did Lyson argue that the Belt and Road Initiative will create a global system of interdependence? So here is a brief introduction about BRI. So BRI, you know that it is a foreign Chinese foreign policy. So the BRI, according to Malone et al. 2018, page 2, is essentially a new global architecture developed by China to outline its new role as a global power. It involves the funding and building of roads, railways, oil and natural gas pipelines, fiber optic and communication systems, ports and airports as part of an infrastructure system. So this policy is viewed as a threat by the United States, who regards it as a threat for Asia Pacific countries. This means that China provides aid to Asia Pacific countries for free or on credit, and if the credit is not repaid, China has the right to take whatever in that country. It could be a property, minerals, or the ability to conduct business in a tax-free environment. However, the design and outcome of this Chinese Belt and Road Initiative is affected by the theoretical framework of deep interdependence and structural power as a primary feature of the strategic environment that was developed by Lyson. The United States established a global system of deep and complex interdependence in order to allow China into this liberal global system. So deep interdependence is a result of the liberal global system, and it is thought to present China with both opportunities and restrictions in terms of global goal formulation, BRI design, and ultimate success or failure. China, in particular, must build a complex and accommodating set of policies and actions relating to mutual gains, governance through accommodating laws and institutions, and management of both internal and interstate conflicts. These claims are examined by looking at the closest analog of the BRI, the Marshall Plan of 1947 to 1950, the Chinese government's overall capacity to formulate, manage, and execute the BRI project, the creation and management of the BRI's institutional analog, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and the implications of the emerging Asian security relationship between India, Vietnam, Japan, and the United States for the BRI. Lyson, 2018, page 36 to 43. The BRI project will succeed or fail in creating structural power for China. According to Lyson, based on China's ability to operate within a system of deep interdependence and structural power. But China's action in the South China Sea are at changes with such goals, making claims on its ultimate success. So to answer our assigned question, which is Why did Lyson argue that the Belt and Road Initiative would create a global system of interdependence? In the book titled China's Belt and Road Initiative, Changing the Rules of Globalization, 2018, page 43 to 44, Lyson argues that, and I quote, there is a clear evidence that the Chinese government understands deep interdependence and structural power as key elements of its strategic environment. This includes progressively linking its economy to the global economy and achieving rapid economic growth, joining essentially all of the major global institutions, building institutions and frames to provide rules for regional interactions, providing stabilizing support to the global economy in the aftermath of 2008 global financial crisis, and the BRI itself, simultaneously building structural power in an environment that places enormous demands on a state's intellectual, human resource, and administrative capacities. Thank you, that's all.
Thank you very much, Nathan, for a very detailed answer. We also thank Anne and Matilda for sharing your answers with us. Now let us listen to Eleanor, who will be representing group number 4.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay. So I'll be representing group 4. And our question reads, do you agree with the statement by Van that the Belt and Road Initiative has helped improve China's image as a responsible power? Now, before I go on to answering the question, I would like to give a brief background on BRI. So what is BRI? Now, BRI, according to Van 2019, page 31, the BRI is a global strategy with a combination of foreign policy and economic development strategy that has been enshrined in the Communist Party of China's constitution, signaling that it is going to shape China's engagement and investment with the world for many years to come. So it is also said to be a post hoc branding exercise that put together pre-existing projects and development plans under the BRI umbrella. Chiefly to bolster President Xi's claim to being China's great rejuvenator. So according to European Bank, Andy, and I quote, the name was coined in 2013 by China's President Xi Jinping, who drew inspiration from the concept of the Silk Road, established during the Han Dynasty 2000 years ago. So it is an ancient network of trade routes that connected China to the Mediterranean via Eurasia for centuries. The BRI has also been referred to in the past as One Belt, One Road. Okay, and thus the BRI is also seen as a connectivity and a re-emergence of the tradition from the ancient Silk Road, the Han Dynasty, the ancient Silk Road of the Han Dynasty, the Yuan Dynasty with the Silk Road economic belt, and connecting the maritime sea route of Zhenghe to today's sea routes. Sorry. Okay, so the aim of the BRI is to improve China's connectivity with the rest of the world with the idea of promoting development and cooperation and economic cooperation along 5 corridors out of China. These include land routes through Central Asia to Europe, to Middle East and to South Asia, and also sea routes connecting Chinese ports to Europe and to South Pacific. So the Belt and Road Initiative currently involves 147 countries. That's according to Silk Road Briefing, 147 countries with China funded infrastructure projects being undertaken globally, except for the European Union and United States, which have their own development schemes known as B&W, Build Back Better, and Globally Connected Europe, although they seem to be targeted at their own infrastructure needs and not to be investing internationally. So coming back to the question, do you agree with the statement by Van that the Belt and Road Initiative has helped improve China's image as a responsible power? So I would say that although there has been a lot of negative comments about BRI, I do slightly agree with Van's statement in the economic sense that by pursuing its national interest through the BRI, China has also paved the way for BRI member countries to pursue their economic interests as well. This is for economic interests as well. So this is for those countries that are actively involved in the BRI. As stated by Van 2019, he says that joining the BRI has become synonymous with the opportunity to grab a piece of China's increasing economic pie. So some of the opportunities created by BRI for those member countries include that firstly, BRI ensures that the member countries' economies are increasingly integrated with the rest of the world and with each other. So according to World Bank 2018, BRI countries' contribution to global exports has nearly doubled in the last 2 decades. So I believe that if successful, BRI projects will help boost the international commerce, particularly for countries that have been unstable to fully integrate into the world economy. And also BRI could also contribute to improving the global welfare. According to World Bank 2019, BRI accounts for 1/3 of global GDP and trade and 2/3 of world population. So if the BRI projects are successful, it will benefit a large number of poor people as well as improve world economies and contribute towards global welfare. And thirdly, it creates the opportunity of improving connectivity. So the BRI makes it possible for different cultures to reconnect and complement each other. That's according to Van 2019. And also BRI creates networks that save time and cost of transporting goods to other countries by improving capacity and network of railways and other transport infrastructure that would promote cross-border trade, increased investment, and improve growth in BRI economies. So I believe that these are the opportunities that BRI brings to its member countries and in turn promote China's image as a responsible power in terms of creating an avenue of economic interdependence between member nations and the benefits associated with it. But I also disagree in some ways because there's been a lot of negative comments associated with BRI as well. So there are, especially because the main reason why I disagree is because there are some partner countries or non-partner countries that have mistrust in China's motives through the BRI. In some cases, they have been reluctant in accepting Chinese investments. For example, according to China Power, Australia has proven reluctant to allow certain investments by Chinese state companies and has thus far rejected calls to formally align its state infrastructure fund with the BRI. Also in 2016, Canberra blocked 2 investment bids by Chinese state-owned enterprises in the energy and agriculture sectors, citing national interest and security concerns. So security concerns is also the reason why I disagree. And also there are some risks associated with BRI. The risks involved with BRI include that there is involved with major infrastructure projects. There are potential environmental, social, and corruption risks associated with any large infrastructure project that BRI brings. And this could include, for example, biodiversity loss, environmental degradation, or elite capture. These risks may be especially significant in countries involved in the BRI, which tend to have a relatively weak governance. And this risk will need to be identified and safeguards put in place to minimize the potential negative effects. Also, on average, there are average delays on crossing borders. That's crossing borders. Or there are more restrictions on crossing borders between BRI countries compared to other regions. That's according to World Bank. And for some countries, the financing required for BRI projects may expand debt to unsustainable levels. Sorry, okay. So that's my answer to the question. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Eleanor, for sharing with us your answer to the assigned question. We also thank your group 4, for the support. Now, group 5 have been assigned the question, what is the Napoleonic awakening lion imagery according to Chen? So to represent the group, we have Miss Welly, and Miss Welly will share with us the answer to that question. Thank you, Miss Welly.
Hi everyone, can you all hear me? Hi, can you all hear me? Yes. Okay, thank you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll be representing group 5, and as Mr. mentioned, our question is, what is the Napoleonic awakening lion imaginary according to Chen? So first of all, Napoleonic refers to this person known as Napoleon Bonaparte, who was the first emperor of France in 1902 and was one of the world's greatest military leaders who rose to power during the French Revolution. Now, lion in this concept is a metaphor for the political ontology of the West. Ontology, as we all know, is the philosophy that seeks the classification or explanation of entities. Now, how or why did Napoleon come in play or is mentioned in The Rise of China? According to Chang 2019, page 43 states that more than 2 centuries ago, Napoleon warned the world that China is a sleeping lion. Let her sleep, for when she wakes, she will shake the world. Now, 2 centuries later, in 2014, President Xi Jinping of China addressed the audience in Paris that included the former French President Francois Hollande and said, today, the lion has woken up, but it is peaceful, pleasant, and civilized. So what is the Napoleonic awakening lion imaginary mean? According to Chen 2019, the Napoleonic awakening lion imaginary refers to China's ascendancy and widespread in the West, meaning to say its influence and expansion might make it a dominating state. As explained by Chen, lion is the king of jungle. It dominates the animal kingdom. Therefore, it does not hesitate to attack its prey, trespassing its boundary either intentionally or not. Now, in simple explanation, the awakening lion imaginary refers to the lion, which is the political ontology of how the Western powers see China and China's power and influence in the world. To support this statement, China reverts the West perspective using the Buddha and cow dung story. Well, the lesson drawn from the story was that what you see is actually what you are and what preoccupies your mind. So it is the lion that sees the lion in others and conceives the world with the ontological thinking of the lion. So as stated by Chen 2019, page 44, when the Western powers envision China to be the awakening lion posing threat, they are revealing who they are themselves and their own political orientation and conception. So the West is the lion it sees in China. Napoleon's statement basically means that China is rising in terms of its political drives, economy, enhanced military, and advanced technology. Because of the rise in China, The West have seen this as a major threat and are trying to compete with China, especially the US. So to conclude, because lion is a metaphor for the Western political ontology, and ontology refers to studies of reality, but the reality is still questionable. It still begs the question whether a lion can really be peaceful after all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Welly. Another interesting presentation by the group and by our presenters this morning. We'll move on to the next group, and the presenter. The next group will be doing a comparison between the US Marshall Plan and the Belt and Road Initiative of China. So to represent the group, we have Ms. Norma Kaigarua. Norma, please go ahead.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes, but not loud enough.
No. Now? Okay.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so for group 6, our question was, why do commentators liken the Belt and Road Initiative to the Marshall Plan according to Chen? So according to Powergrid Communication 2018, the Belt and Road Initiative, or BRI, is one of President Xi's ambitious foreign economic policies, which was aimed at strengthening its economic leadership within its region through its neighbors. So the initiative was viewed by many policy analysts as Beijing's attempt in gaining political advantage. Since the introduction of BRI, the mainstream media and professional analysts began calling this initiative China's Marshall Plan. So the two projects may have similarities and aim to respond to the malfunctioning world order through macro-political economic investment and aid development, but their changing economic structures could vary. So the Marshall Plan was the US strategic policy after World War II to provide economic aid to the European countries who were less devastated. So after World War II, US came up with this Marshall Plan initiative. So the Marshall Plan was a very large program of the US economic aid to 17 European countries after World War II. So the US used this economic initiative to cement its position in Western Europe. So according to Joel Wasner 2019, it briefly summarizes the widespread concerns regarding BRI in America in his testimony before the US China Economic and Security Review Commission. And it states, and I quote, commentators liken or relate the BRI to the Marshall Plan as a way for China to create strategic advantages in its backyard, just as the US used economic statecraft to cement its position in Western Europe following World War II. So, and as a modern manifestation of earlier 20th century, British geographer Haflord McKenda's thesis that dominating Eurasia is a precursor for global hegemony. So in carefully argued research, Roland depicts the BRI as part of China's grand strategy, using all elements of national strength to assert China's influence and perhaps and reshape at least its own neighborhood. Unquote. So the Marshall Plan was also known as the European Recovery Program in 1948 to 1951. The plan was a strategy that strengthened America's presence in Western Europe, as we've stated, and the 20th century geographer stated that the domination of Eurasia is a precursor for global hegemony. So just like how the Marshall Plan works for the US, the statement suggests that China's BRI is its grand strategy at asserting influence and reshaping its neighborhood. So it can be arguable as to what derives this strategic move, whether it is hegemony, economic, or cultural, taking into account that China is a civilization and that she has gone through or lasted several dynasties. So with many misinterpretations of her motives everywhere and its threesome defenses, it is making it hard to understand what is really happening or what is China's real intention. As mentioned, this initiative was viewed by many policy analysts as Beijing's attempt in gaining political advantage. So like the Marshall Plan the new Silk Road Initiative looks designed to use economic threats as a way of addressing other vulnerabilities. This was taken from Financial Times 2018, as cited in Palgrave Communications 2018 as well. So one has to understand that China is not a nation state, but rather a civilization that has lasted countless dynasties. So the BRI is a new version of the old Silk Road economic route of ancient China and its neighbors. Therefore, to really understand China and the BRI, it is better one studies it from a from China's view, because China is a civilization that thinks according to culture, and much of what is written about China and how it operates within its Chinese interpretation. Hence, it is difficult for foreigners, especially the Western, to understand whether it is power-seeking, hegemonic, or cultural and economic avenue. The countries engaged in BRI are Asian trade partners of former Chinese dynasties, just as what Lynette has mentioned. So yes, thank you. That's the end of our answer.
Thank you, Norma and Group 6. Thank you for sharing with us your answer to the assigned question. We will now move on to the final presenter, Ms. Tukiki. Ms. Tukiki will be representing Group 7. Ms. Arabella.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Okay, thank you. So I'll be representing Group 7 to answer question 7. So our question reads, do you agree with the segment on China in PNG's National Security Policy 2013 and why? So since our question will be talking about China and PNG, I'll just give a brief introduction. According to Britannica 2022, China is the largest of all Asian countries and has the largest population of any country in the world. While Papua New Guinea is an island country that lies in the southwestern Pacific. It includes the eastern half of New Guinea and many small offshore islands. That is according to the Commonwealth 2022. So what exactly is National Security Policy or NSP? According to the United Nations SSR Task Force or the Security Sector Reform Task Force, national security, also known as National Security Doctrine, it provides guidelines for a country to address security needs of the people and the state. The policy incorporates the view of the government and other institutions as well as needs and perception of the people and takes the form of a national security policy document. So basically, national security policy is a framework describing how a country provides security for the state and its citizens. So why is it important for the national security policy? As stated by the United Nations SSR Task Force, national security policies addressing both effectiveness and accountability are essential for the legitimacy of security institution and the protection of citizens and their rights. National security policies are closely linked to security sector reform. They represent strategic entry points for engaging in and guiding SSR efforts. As national security policies are based on core national legal documents, the development of NSP also provide an opportunity to review and improve that legal framework. So to answer the question, do you agree with the segment on China and PNG's National Security Policy 2013 and why? For me, I would say yes, I agree with the segment mainly because according to the noted, PNG's national security policy 2013 has identified the most immediate challenges as law and order, corruption and good governance, human rights abuse and gender-based violence, lack of border control, natural disaster and climate change, just to name a few. These challenges shows that PNG is in urgent need to strengthen its security agencies to reduce this, to strengthen its security agency to reduce these challenges from escalating in the future. Although China has been viewed as a potential threat by some countries, however, it has contributed so much to PNG's diplomacy, development, assistance, and investment. So in diplomacy, China and PNG established a diplomatic relations 45 years ago, and since then have been working with each other in fostering development and cooperation with each other. China will continue to provide support within its capacity to fight in capacity to PNG in fighting the COVID-19, developing economic and improving people's livelihood. That is according to FNWA 2021. Some of China's contribution in development assistance include the Jackson's Airport runway expansion, seafood export deals, COVID-19 medical aid, and construction of the national courthouse, all funded by Chinese government. That is according to the Bexwell 2020. China's investment in PNG is concentrating in mining, retail infrastructure, and forestry. For example, the Ramoniko mine is China's largest single investment in the Pacific Island. That is according to the Zhang 2021. In addition, PNGs continue to maintain a one China policy with China as a defense cooperation relationship with China, and will continue to honor such relationship in furtherance of our national interest. This is according to the National Strategic Policy 2013. So to conclude, China's is PNG's major investor and contributor to our national security policy in the sense that it helps to reduce some challenges as identified in our national security policy through the diplomatic relations, developmental assistance, and investment as mentioned earlier. Thank you, and that's the end of our presentation.
All right, thank you, Annabelle and Group 7. We also thank all the other presenters representing the other groups. Thank you for your time and thank you for sharing with us the knowledge that you've acquired. We now, this brings us to the end of our presentation for today and the end of the topic on China threat. So in week 2 and week 3, we looked at security. Week 4 and week 5, the China threat, and in week 7 and 8, we'll continue on with cyber security, our theme for week 7 and week 8, and for participation 3. So we've completed participation 1 and 2. The commenting and questioning period will close at 1:30 today. That is for those who are yet to reach the maximum of 6 comments and 6 questions over the last 2 weeks. So I've given you another extra 3 hours or 2 hours to complete the questions and the questions and the commenting questions and commenting segment. So if you are yet to reach the maximum of 6 comments and 6 questions, please utilize the next 2 hours to complete the activity. Okay, with that, I'll stop here. I know all of you are working on your national security policy review or critical review, which is due at the end of this week on Friday. Make sure you submit before 5 o'clock. And it should be as a blog article on your group blog. So if you need any assistance or any clarification, please do not hesitate to communicate with me via Zoom or using Microsoft Teams. And one reminder for tomorrow, we have a presentation by Ms. Michelle Lau. I've shared with you the Zoom link to the meeting tomorrow. Ms. Lau is the Executive Officer to the Acting Secretary for Foreign Affairs and International Trade. So she's a former Divine University student, PGIR alumni. So she'll be sharing the experience with us tomorrow from 12:30 p.m. to 1:30 p.m. So if you are free, for me, I think it's compulsory that all of you as year 4 students who attend the meeting. The department is now doing recruitment, so people are lucky, and maybe some of you might be recruited as interns or casuals at the end of this year. So it will be good to attend the meeting and get to know Miss Lau and ask questions in relation to what she does as a foreign service officer and the department and what they're doing at the moment. So there is tomorrow, Wednesday, from 12:30 to 1:30 p.m. So you'll be joined by the year 2s and the year 3s. But like I said, for you year 4s, for me, I think it's imperative that all of you attend, or those who want to attend, so you can meet and get to know Miss Michelle Lau from the Department of Foreign Affairs. Okay, with that, Dr. Sawe, that's all for me. And I've marked your first participation already. The marks have been entered into your grade book, and I'll now, after we conclude at 1:30, I'll mark the second participation and share the marks on your grade book. So make sure you check your grade book to verify if there are any mistakes or incorrect numbering, then let me know so I can correct or make changes. So that's all for now. You all have a good day, and we'll see you again next week for our session on cybersecurity. Thank you to all the presenters and to all the group members for your support. And we also thank our audience on Facebook as well, those who have attended on Facebook. I see some questions and some comments. So I encourage those who have presented to respond to the questions and the comments on Facebook as well. So that is all for today. You all have a good day, and we'll meet again soon. Bye for now.